Record June temperatures point to more extraordinary extremes. North America experienced its warmest June on record, according to the EU's Earth observation program. That will come as no surprise given the unprecedentedly high temperatures recently recorded during the heatwave that hit Canada and parts of the US. But UK residents may be startled to learn that despite the rain and cloud they experienced, it was the second warmest June on record for Europe. It was also the fourth warmest June ever recorded worldwide. Copernicus, the EU's Earth observation program, produces its figures for world temperatures from computer-generated analyses using billions of measurements from satellites, aircraft and weather stations around the world. Climate experts say the findings point to a frightening escalation in temperature extremes. We are getting used to record high temperatures being recorded somewhere around the world every year now, says Professor Peter Stott of the UK Met Office. He says what meteorologists like him find shocking is not that the world is experiencing more heatwaves but that temperature records are increasingly being broken by such large margins. In Canada and the northwestern U.S., several cities recorded temperatures a full 5 degrees Celsius above previous records. A Siberian heatwave last year saw temperatures more than 5°C above the previous record between January and June. A study by the Met Office on the extreme heat in the Russian region found that reaching such temperatures was almost impossible without human-caused climate change. It anticipates similar results from studies of the Canadian heatwave. Its initial calculations suggest the odds of the sort of temperatures experienced in Canada occurring without climate change are very low indeed, says Professor Stott. It is telling us that changes in average climate are leading to rapid escalation not just of extreme temperatures, but of extraordinarily extreme temperatures, he adds. That is exactly what the science says we should expect, Professor Frederica Otto of the Environmental Change Institute at Oxford University told the BBC. Every decade the world has increased the rate of greenhouse gas emissions and that has increased the rate of warming. So, of course, heat records are being broken more frequently, she maintains. Professor Otto believes the risks from the increasing number of heatwaves the world now experiences is not taken seriously enough. Storms and flood provide dramatic before and after images and cause widespread damage to property. Heatwaves, by contrast, do not leave a trail of destruction in their wake. Professor Otto describes them as silent killers. People rarely drop dead on the street, but die quietly in their poorly insulated and un-air-conditioned homes. COVID. Heathrow to trial fast-tracking vaccinated arrivals. Two of the world's biggest airlines will trial fast-track lanes at Heathrow Airport for fully vaccinated arrivals. Under the scheme, passengers from some countries will be able to upload their vaccination status before boarding. The trial by British Airways and Virgin Atlantic comes as the aviation industry calls for quarantine-free travel to the UK from lower-risk amber list countries. Transport Secretary Grant Shapps is set to announce such a scheme this week. The move comes just days after the UK government announced that most lockdown measures in England would be eased from the 19th of July. Earlier this week, Health Secretary Sajid Javid said Mr. Shapps would update MPs on international travel and removing the need for fully vaccinated arrivals to isolate when they return from an amber list country. However, as cases continue to rise in the UK, health experts have highlighted that no vaccines are 100% effective. Most popular holiday destinations are currently on the amber list, meaning that people must isolate for up to 10 days on their return to the UK. The trial, due to start this weekend, will allow passengers who are fully vaccinated and are travelling on selected flights to Heathrow from Athens, Los Angeles, Montego Bay and New York to show proof of their vaccination status. People taking part will be able to use a dedicated arrivals lane at the UK border. It is hoped the trial will reassure the government that airlines and airports can check vaccine status away from the border, which would reduce pressure on UK immigration halls. The trial will accept internationally recognized vaccination credentials including the NHS app, CDC card, US state-level digital certification and the EU digital COVID certificate. John Holland Kay, chief executive of Heathrow Airport, told the BBC's Today programme, "At the moment the main barrier to people who have been doubly vaccinated travelling being allowed to do that, is being able to demonstrate to the government that we can check that they've had the vaccination already. The trial that we're starting later this week will allow us to demonstrate we can do that safely with 100% checks on double vaccination before people get on the plane." Sean Doyle, British Airways chief executive and chairman, added he was confident the trial would be successful. "We look forward to providing the data that proves it's simple for fully vaccinated status to be verified and to the government meeting its commitment to get the country moving again," he said. Shai Weiss, Virgin Atlantic chief executive, said the trial would demonstrate the industry's readiness to rapidly operationalize the new policy, and work with government and authorities to ensure it is smoothly implemented at pace, supporting the reopening of the transatlantic corridor, without which £23 million is lost each day from the UK economy. In a joint statement, the companies said the UK had led the world with its successful vaccine programme, but added it was failing to reap the economic and social rewards of other countries which are accepting fully vaccinated people without the need to quarantine. Record June temperatures point to more extraordinary extremes. North America experienced its warmest June on record, according to the EU's Earth Observation Programme. That will come as no surprise given the unprecedentedly high temperatures recently recorded during the heatwave that hit Canada and parts of the US. But UK residents may be startled to learn that despite the rain and cloud they experienced, it was the second warmest June on record for Europe. It was also the fourth warmest June ever recorded worldwide. Copernicus, the EU's Earth Observation Programme, produces its figures for world temperatures from computer-generated analyses using billions of measurements from satellites, aircraft and weather stations around the world. Peter R. de Vries, Dutch crime journalist wounded in Amsterdam shooting. A prominent Dutch journalist known for investigating the criminal underworld has been shot and seriously wounded on a street in central Amsterdam. Peter R. de Vries, 64, was shot minutes after leaving a TV studio, where he had appeared on a chat show. Mr. de Vries is famed for his work on exposing on mobsters and drug kingpins, and has helped police solve a number of high-profile cases. 3 suspects have been arrested, including the possible gunman. The mayor of Amsterdam, Femke Halsema, described Mr. de Vries as a national hero to us all, and as a rare, courageous journalist who tirelessly sought justice. The attack happened just after 1730 Greenwich Mean Time, as the journalist was walking away from the studio on the Lang Leidse-Worstraat. 5 shots were fired at close range and Mr. de Vries, 64, was hit in the head, local media is reporting. Minutes earlier he had appeared on the TV program RTL Boulevard to talk about the case of a hairdresser who was murdered in 2019. Heartless attack. Mr. de Vries was previously given police protection after receiving threats for his involvement in criminal cases as an investigative journalist. Mayor Halsema told the media he was fighting for his life, and condemned the shooting as a cruel, heartless attack. 2 suspects were arrested in a car on the A4 motorway at Leidschendam, and a third in Amsterdam. Police are appealing for witnesses and CCTV footage of the shooting but are asking people not to share the material on social media. YouTube said it had removed hundreds of videos from its platform. Shocking and incomprehensible. The attack has shaken the Netherlands, with messages of support for Mr. de Vries and the safety of all journalists coming from leading figures across the country. Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte gave a news conference after meeting counterterrorism officials and police in The Hague. Mr. Rutte described the shooting as shocking and incomprehensible, adding it was an attack on a courageous journalist, and on the freedom on the press. Justice Minister Ferd Grapperhaus paid tribute to an extraordinary journalist, calling Mr. de Vries an admirable warrior against injustice for the underdog. King Willem-Alexander and Queen Maxima said they were deeply shocked, and that journalists must be free to carry out their important work without threats. Peter R. de Vries rose to prominence reporting on the types of crimes he has fallen victim to. Trump to sue Facebook, Twitter, Google over alleged censorship, says they've ceased to be private. Former President Donald Trump on Wednesday announced that he will lead a lawsuit over alleged censorship against Twitter, Facebook and Google, three tech companies that removed him from their platforms after the January 6 attack on the Capitol by a mob of his supporters. The lawsuit will be a class action, with Trump as the lead plaintiff, claiming that he's been censored by the companies. He spoke about the legal action from his golf club in Bedminster, New Jersey. I stand before you this morning to announce a very important development for our freedom and freedom of speech, Trump said. In conjunction with the America First Policy Institute, I'm filing as the lead class action representative a major class action lawsuit against the big tech giants including Facebook, Google and Twitter, as well as their CEOs. There is no better evidence that big tech is out of control than the fact that they banned the sitting president of the United States earlier this year. Trump added, "If they can do it to me, they can do it to anyone." Twitter, YouTube and Facebook each barred Trump over his false claims that the presidential election was stolen, alleging that he contributed to the violence at the Capitol on January 6. YouTube is owned by Google. Former President Donald Trump speaks to supporters from the Ellipse near the White House on January 6, 2021, in Washington, D.C. Trump was banned from most major social media platforms shortly after. January 6. Photo by Brendan Smialowski, AFP. Photo by Brendan Smialowski, AFP via Getty Images. Photo by Brendan Smialowski, AFP. Photo by Brendan Smialowski, AFP via Getty Images. Facebook warns users they may have been exposed to harmful extremists. After close review of recent tweets from the @RealDonaldTrump account and the context around them, specifically how they are being received and interpreted on and off Twitter, we have permanently suspended the account due to the risk of further incitement of violence, Twitter wrote in a blog post about its decision. But Republicans and Trump himself have maintained that these companies are unfairly censoring conservatives, pointing to international dictators who still can post on Twitter. Trump said that the lawsuit will be filed in the Southern District of Florida, seeking injunctive relief against shameful censorship of the American people.